I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, December 29th, 2020, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's been a very, very busy day, very busy news day. If you follow me on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, you see some of the stories I've been posting about today. So you see it's been a very busy news day. We're going to deal with some of those top stories, and some of them we'll have to get to on tomorrow's show. All right, so on today's show, we'll talk about in the U.S. Senate, Moscow Mitch McConnell in the U.S. Senate blocked the $2,000 stimulus checks, the bill that passed the House of Representatives on Monday by a 2/3 majority vote. Moscow Mitch McConnell, one little evil person, blocked that in the U.S. Senate. Okay. And this is an example of how elections have consequences also. So we're going to we'll talk a little bit about what happened and what's next as well. All right. And then also I posted this story dealing with Master P, hip hop mogul Master P, and ex-NBA star Baron Davis. They are trying to buy Reebok, the shoe manufacturer Reebok. They're trying to buy Reebok for $2.4 billion. They're trying to buy Reebok for $2.4 billion. Okay. And if they're able to pull this off, I mean, this would be a huge move if they're able to do this. So we'll discuss that. And, you know, it was last week we talked about the former NBA player who just bought Ebony Magazine for $14 million. Another huge move. Okay. So these are the type of moves that we need to make. It's about ownership. Politics is important. I'm not saying don't do politics. I'm not saying just do economic empowerment. Don't do politics. That's suicide. That doesn't make sense at all. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. This is what politics is. Politics impacts every aspect of our lives, from the water we drink to the air we breathe to the food we eat. All we have to do is look at the probably about 50% of African-American owned businesses that have been wiped out in this coronavirus economy. Okay, then also I posted this story on Monday. We did not get a chance to talk about it, but the officer the Ohio police officer who fatally shot Andre Hill in Columbus, Ohio, he has been fired, okay, from the police department. So we'll talk some about that. We know that there's a move to fire 2 more officers involved in the killing of Breonna Taylor. We'll deal with that on our Wednesday show. Also, the Department of Justice announced today that they are not going to file charges in the killing of Tamir Rice. All right, we'll talk about that on Wednesday as well, because I already had a jam-packed show before those stories broke. So this is a 1-hour show. I can only do so much in an hour. There was a story that we posted on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, today. And this deals with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Back in 1958, I've talked about this a number of times. Back in 1958, Dr. King was stabbed in the chest with a letter opener by a deranged woman, Izola Ware Curry. And he almost died. There were 2 police officers who gave him aid right there on the scene, one white, one African American, and they saved his life. And the white officer, whose name was Al Howard, he recently passed away at the age of 93 from coronavirus. There was an article from BINnews.com that I saw that came out December 28th, and we shared this on our Facebook fan page. So we're going to talk a little bit about that history. This New York Police Department officer, he and his partner saved Dr. King's life. Okay, so we'll deal a little bit with that. And then also, today is the birth date of Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. Some people say Diop, is actually pronounced Diop. He's one of our great grandmaster scholar warriors. He was a linguist. He was an anthropologist, author of Civilization of Barbarism and African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality, a number of books. So we'll talk a little bit about Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. And then when we look at Georgia, I've got Georgia on my mind. Everybody has Georgia on their mind now. When we look at this Senate race heating up, January 5th is going down in Georgia. Okay. Reverend Raphael Warnock versus Senator Kelly Loeffler, and John Ossoff versus Senator David Perdue. Politico.com had an article from Monday, December 28th, 2020. Judge blocks voter purge in 2 Georgia counties. Judge blocks voter purge in 2 Georgia counties. Okay, we're going to talk some about this. We didn't get a chance to talk about this on the Monday show. Monday show was jam-packed, so didn't have a chance to deal with that as well. Also, we'll give you an update on what's going on with coronavirus. We see that coronavirus vaccinations are lagging behind the projections from the Trump administration. You actually thought the Trump administration was going to be able to pull off something like this. By the end of this year, they said there would be 20 million vaccinations. As of today, the count is 2.1 million, even though they're in taking into account there's a lag in between people actually getting the vaccination and it being reported. Even if you double that and say it was 4 million vaccinations, there's still 16 million down from what they projected they would be at by the end of the year. Okay, but you know, what did you expect? He's on a golf course. Well, I mean, Trump has pretty much given up fighting against coronavirus. He spent more time trying to overturn the results of a lawful election than he has fighting coronavirus since November 3rd, since the November 3rd election. But we'll give you a brief update on what's going on with coronavirus also. All right, so on the African History Network. Also, we'll talk about this probably some on Wednesday. Famous principal Joe Clark. I posted about this as well. Information from the New York Amsterdam News. Joe Clark, the former East Side High School principal who was portrayed by Morgan Freeman in the movie Lean on Me, has passed away at age 82. This has been a hell of a year. Everybody died. It's just been, I mean, come on. He passed away at the age of 82. He was dealing with a long-term illness. I looked at a couple of articles dealing with this, and we'll talk some more about this Wednesday night. The bullhorn and baseball bat wielding principal was known for being tough. I remember seeing interviews about Joe Clark in the 1980s. And then everybody remembers the movie Stand on Me with Morgan Freeman. I mean, Morgan Freeman did an excellent job in that movie portraying Joe Clark. But Joe Clark passed away at age 82. All right. So on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. We're going to talk about sex again very soon, like the next couple of days, maybe over the break or something like that. And we'll have to do a special show, bring on my sexperts to talk about it. But anyway, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can sign up for our email newsletter there as well. If you'd like to stop for information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, or through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, so that helps us keep doing the research, broadcast our show 6 days a week as opposed to 1 day a week. We were doing 1 day a week, Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, WFDF here in Detroit. We were doing that for 4 years. We're now on 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, as of October 12th. And then still on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time also. Okay. So we're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. And also on 910 a.m. Superstation, WFDF's Facebook page as well. So follow us on our social media platforms, turn on notifications so you know when we go live. Okay, let's go to this first story here. Let's start with Master P and Baron Davis. We'll jump into this before the break. So I first saw an article from thegrio.com, and then I read some other articles dealing with this. The Grio has a good article, and they cited ESPN, but also Forbes magazine, Forbes.com. Master P and ex-NBA star Baron Davis in talks to buy Reebok for $2.4 billion. Hip-hop mogul Master P and former NBA star Baron Davis are negotiating to buy Reebok from his parent company, Adidas, for $2.4 billion. My Adidas. Remember that from Run DMC? You know, I love the song. I couldn't afford Adidas back in the day, but I love the song, right? I can afford Adidas now, but don't want them. See how that works? So the deal would make the legendary shoe giant the first Black-owned major sneaker brand. This deal would make the legendary shoe giant of Reebok the first Black-owned major sneaker brand. This is a boss move. Okay, now you know you have a whole lot of hip hop artists that focus on conspicuous consumption and buying expensive handbags, buying Lamborghinis, buying this, buying that. But they're talking about acquiring an income generating asset. They're talking about buying a major shoe company, and they can employ probably thousands of people, many of them African Americans, but buy an income producing asset like this that will continue to generate wealth and something they can pass on to their children. This right here is brilliant. Even if they're not successful, just the fact that they're in the talks of doing it will cause other people who have money to start zeroing in on other major businesses like this that we could buy. They may have been looking at it before, but something like this makes it, I think, more attainable, more achievable. Adidas acquired Reebok in 2005 for $3.8 billion. However, its value has decreased significantly in the decade and a half since that deal, and Adidas is looking to offload the brand. Oh, we buy it up. You don't have to start a new company. Go buy one that's already established that's in trouble. Go buy that one and bring it back to life. We'll talk about this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Visit 4glossygirls.com. That's the number 4glossygirls.com, and follow them on Instagram at 4glossygirls.
Do you have an idea or business that requires app development or thinking of moving your IT resources to the cloud? We have post-paid and profit-sharing plans for unique ideas or profitable businesses. Who can take advantage of this unique program? Entrepreneurs with unique ideas, startups, small to medium businesses. Contact us 267-209-0352.
Visit nomadicsystems.net, nomadicsystems.net today. So Natural Beauty Products offers organic, plant-based skin and hair care products that will rejuvenate skin and narrow and thicken hair. Their whipped shea butter can heal or restore damaged skin cells to prevent hyperpigmentation and skin breakouts. All products are made with organic plant-based ingredients. Their maximum hair growth oil is fortified with organic herbal extract and undeniably proves that Mother Nature knows best. It thickens, lengthens, softens, and conditions all types of hair. They even guarantee hair improvement within 90 days or a full refund. Their all-natural 24-hour deodorant leaves the body smelling fresh without sweating for up to 24 hours. It does not stain fabric, goes on smoothly, and has a refreshing lavender and frankincense aroma. It can be used by men, women, even children. Place your order today at soulnaturalbeautyproducts.com. That's soulnaturalbeautyproducts.com, and follow them on Facebook at Soul Natural Beauty Products. Intuitive Design Clothing is an online store that sells one-of-a signature statement pieces for men and women. They also specialize in fashion consultations, closet organization, and decorating small spaces. Are you looking for a statement piece for a special affair, or would you like to add some select pieces to your ensemble of accessories? If you're something different, definitely contact Kathy, owner and CEO of Intuitive Design Clothing. Visit their website, intuitivedesignClothing.com. That's intuitivedesignClothing.com, and you can email her at info@intuitiveclothing.com. Intuitive Design Clothing, where every entrance, grand entrance. With blackbusinesstee.com, the messages are clear and meaningful. Keep your business in the black and out of the red. Mind your black business, know your numbers, and plan strategically. Black Business Boss, lead your industry. Support black business, encourage, patronize, and uplift one another. Blackbusinesstee.com currently has products sold in Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, with proceeds returned to the black community. They have a wide selection of hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, hats, sweatshirts that support black-owned businesses. Visit the website blackbusinesstee.com. That's blackbusinesstee.com. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, December 29th, 2020, and we are live. This year's going by quickly. Sometimes it's going by really slowly, like the impeachment trial. Sometimes it's going by slowly. Sometimes it's going by quickly. I guess sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick, so but this is going by really quickly here. But I tell you one thing, January 20th, 2021 can't come fast enough. Okay, now tonight's show is brought to you once again by the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. They have a special promotion. It's good only for one day. January 20th, 2021 is good only for people moving from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Okay. Use promo code DJT, pack your stuff. Get 75% off from the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. Call 1-866-CALL-TYRONE, and I'll let you use an Obama phone to call also. All right. So right before the break, we were talking about the story dealing with hip hop mogul Master P. Okay, remember Master P, Percy Miller. Remember Master P from the '90s. Wobble wobble, shake it, shake it. You know, I got the hookup. Remember the low budget movies, and there's the No Limit Chronicles on BET. People should watch that, man. That's fantastic. No Limit Chronicles and the empire that he built. And we see him on reality TV now, growing up hip hop. I know he had a falling out with the producers of the show, so I'm not sure if he and his son Romeo are still on the show. But you know, that show gave them more exposure also today. Okay, so he and former NBA star Baron Davis are in talks to buy Reebok for $2.4 billion. Okay, it's one thing to have a gym shoe collection. It's one thing to have a gym shoe collection and talk about you own this and own that and how many cars you have and how many pairs of gym shoes you have, and you're fresh all the time and you're at the club, things like this. It's another thing to buy a major corporation like this and be able to employ thousands of people, to be able to create more wealth, to be able to pass on a company like this ownership to your children. You know, I'd rather pass on a shoe company than a shoe collection. I'd rather pass on a shoe company than a shoe collection. Now, Adidas Adidas acquired Reebok in 2005 for $3.8 billion. However, its value has decreased significantly in the decade and a half since that deal took place, and Adidas is looking to offload the brand. Okay, that's an opportunity. You don't have to try to create a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's easy to go buy one that's in trouble and bring it back. They already have a brand. They have, even though it's shrinking, they already have market share. Okay, they have brand recognition. They already have factories, employees, all that stuff. You don't have to go try to just create something from scratch. Go buy something. This is what a lot of white people do. You have corporate mergers. You have one company acquiring the other company, buying out the other company. You don't have to try to create that from scratch. Go buy one. Now, Reebok was the first major shoe company to sign a music artist in an endorsement deal the way big label companies previously attached themselves to athletes. Okay, Reebok was the first one. Reebok was the first major shoe company to sign a music artist in an endorsement deal the way big label companies previously attached themselves to athletes. The brand Reebok collaborated with Jay-Z in 2003 and saw an immediate increase in sales the following year. Now, Baron Davis told Forbes magazine, and I looked at the article from Forbes, also by Corey Hale, Hale, Corey Hale. It's a very good article she wrote for Forbes. But Baron Davis told Forbes magazine, Forbes.com, quote, "I think Reebok is being undervalued. I think Reebok is being undervalued. I left Nike as a 22-year-old kid representing myself and made the jump to Reebok, which took a chance on me as a creative and as an athlete, I want the people I know, athletes, influencers, designers, celebrities, to sit at the table with me. This is huge right here. Even if they don't succeed with this one, the model that they're putting together, they may end up buying another shoe company. Hopefully they can get Reebok. But even if they can't Reebok, the formula that they're putting together to get Reebok, they may end up getting successfully another company if they don't get Reebok. But Baron Davis said, I think Reebok is being undervalued. I left Nike as a 22-year-old kid representing myself when he was playing basketball. A 22-year-old kid representing myself and made the jump to Reebok. Okay, he left Nike for Reebok. He said, Reebok took a chance on me as a creative and as an athlete. I want people I know, athletes, influencers, designers, celebrities, to sit at the table with me. These companies have been benefiting off of us. This could be history for this company going black owned, end quote, Master P said. Master P told ESPN. These companies have been benefiting off of us. He's correct. Nike, Air Jordans, okay, Reebok, Adidas, all these companies, Fila, New Balance, you name it, Converse, all these companies been benefiting off of African-American basketball players, football players, athletes, and hip hop culture. We should own these. We should own at least one of them. We should really own more of them. We should own like what 14% of the companies. We should own 14% of the basketball companies because we're 14. No, actually, let's change it. We should own 80% because we're 80% of the NBA. We're 80% of the NBA. We should own 80% of the basketball shoe companies, right? Because we're 80% of the NBA. We're like 70% of the NFL. So the men's purchase could re-energize Reebok. The purchase of Reebok by Master P and Baron Davis could re-energize Reebok in the sneaker and streetwear markets as a black-owned brand in a year that has seen many calling for change in socio-economic and racial justice. They reportedly plan to pave lanes, making it easier for independent sneaker makers to get their products distributed. Okay, so if they're talking about distribution, because distribution has always been a problem. When you talk about music, if they talking about owning this and then also owning like distribution channels, that's huge. I'd rather own a shoe company than a shoe collection. I ain't in the, I've known people who've had 200 pairs of shoes all that. I ain't in. I only have one pair of feet. I'd rather own a shoe company than a shoe collection. Quote, as we focus on turning Reebok into a lifestyle brand, not just a basketball brand, our most important initiative will be to put money back into the community that built this company. This is what Master P said. And this is something Master P has always been about, reinvesting into the African-American community. This is something he's always been about. And he's always been about ownership. So you look at the Rap Snacks, the line of snack foods that they have, Master P has, and then it's something I can't remember. It was a cereal or something. It was an article I posted. Rap Snacks and something else. He's always been about ownership. Okay. And that's something very powerful because we are a people that are targeted with marketing messages to make us consumers. We are people who are targeted and pre-programmed to be consumers. Largely, we're not pre-programmed to be owners. We do have a history of entrepreneurship throughout African-American history, especially when we look at the cooperatives, the co-ops. And, today is the fourth day of Kwanzaa, cooperative economics, Ujima. And cooperative economics, that is an African principle, the co-ops, where you have businesses that are owned by the members, by the people. It's not just owned by one person. Okay. When you read the book Collective Courage by Dr. Jessica Gordon Nimhard, she deals with the deep, rich history of African Americans and cooperative economics and the co-ops, the cooperatives. Okay. Whether it's the Colored Farmers Union, founded in 1886 in Texas, or the Free African Society in 1787, different things like this. And I have a book around here somewhere. We'll try to find it. Yeah, right here, Collective Courage by Dr. Jessica Gordon Nimhard. Deep, deep book, deals with the deep, rich history of African Americans and cooperative economics. Okay, the cooperatives. And the cooperatives are one of the most popular form of cooperatives are credit unions. And credit unions, the actual people who have accounts in the credit union, they're also members of the credit union. They're called members, and they're part owners of the credit union, which is different than if you just have a bank account. Okay. So the credit unions are a form of cooperatives also. But this is a deep book right here. Collective Courage, A History of African American Cooperative Economic Thought and Practice. Cooperative economics is different than Black capitalism. Because a lot of people confuse that, and I don't have time to really get into this. But cooperative economics and the co-ops, that's different than Black capitalism. A lot of times Black capitalism is just white capitalism dipped in chocolate. Or it's just white capitalism dressed up as Black power or whatever. That's cooperative economics is different than Black capitalism. Okay. All right. But anyway, I'm all for economic empowerment, things like this, but cooperative economics, that's something on a whole nother level. You study things like the Colored Merchants Association, founded around 1928, 1929, that was teaching African-American grocery store owners and how to pull their resources together and compete against the chain stores, the Kresge's and the Woolworths, and these white chain stores that were rising in the early 1900s and the 1920s. The cooperatives are something on a whole nother level. All right. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a quick question or comment. All right, we're going to wrap up here with this topic and get to these other topics here. But this is deep. This is extremely important right here, what they're doing. Okay, because they could have just said, we just going to buy a bunch of shoes. We're going to be fresh and just buy a bunch of shoes. But, they said, no, we're going to buy a shoe company. Quote, as we focus on turning Reebok into a lifestyle brand, not just a basketball brand, our most important initiative will be to put money back into the community that built this company. That's what Master P said. Now, both Baron Davis and Master P, Percy Miller, are entrepreneurs with investments in media, technology, sports, music, and fashion. Percy Miller, Master P, also recently entered the food market with the Uncle P food products. Yeah, the Uncle P food products. Master P, this dude is a business mogul. This guy is brilliant. Now, Percy Miller has an estimated net worth of over $200 million. Baron Davis' net worth is estimated at $60 million. Quote, we want this to be a community effort, said Vyle, V-Y-L-E, Vyle, Chief Operating Officer of Baron Davis Enterprises. That sets up the next generation of leaders for success. That's what I'm talking about. Setting up the next generation. I'd rather leave, the next generation, a shoe company than a shoe collection. So check out this article from thegrio.com entitled Master P, ex-NBA star Baron Davis in talks to buy Reebok for $2.4 billion. This is from the Griot, written by Biba Adams. Okay, this is from December 29th, 2020. Eric Eric Woodyard of ESPN tweeted in the article from yahoonews.com, and then also I think in the one from Forbes, they cite this tweet from Eric Woodyard from ESPN. This article from sports.yahoo.com says these companies have been benefiting. Okay, they're quoting Percy Miller, Master P, as told to Eric Woodyard. Eric tweeted on December 28th, 2025, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Percy Master P Miller confirms to ESPN that he's in negotiations to acquire Reebok with ex-NBA guard Baron Davis. These companies have been benefiting off of, quote, these companies have been benefiting off us. This could be history for this company going black owned, end quote, Miller tells ESPN. All right, so check those articles out. All right, now, and let's see here. Okay, how's everybody doing? We got Sandy, TT Summer, Chance, Patricia. Yeah, okay, that was from December 29th, 2020. Okay, let's look quickly at these other articles here. The one from Forbes.com is entitled Reebok's $2.4 billion price tag brings hip hop and sports moguls to the table. It's a good one by Corey Hale for Forbes.com. Okay, so what happened today in the U.S. Senate? Well, Moscow Mitch McConnell, the Grim Reaper, shut down the he blocked the $2,000 stimulus bill. Okay. And, you know, once again, now this $2,000 would have gone to hit some of his poor constituents, some of the poor Republicans that voted for him. It would have gone to them. If we look at abcnews.go.com, ABC's official website, Trump warns GOP of death wish as McConnell blocks Democratic effort to pass $2,000 relief payments. Trump warns GOP of death wish as McConnell blocks Democratic effort to pass $2,000 relief payments. Also, NBCnews.com has a good article dealing with this as well that we posted. So we know on Monday in the House of Representatives, they passed the $2,000 stimulus checks. It was a 2/3 majority vote. The Democratic-controlled House of Representatives narrowly passed a bill Monday evening to increase direct coronavirus relief payments to some people from $600 one-time payment to $2,000 one-time payment. The measure faces an uphill battle in the Republican-ran Senate despite support from Donald Trump. Now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat from New York, on Monday said he would try to pass the bill on Tuesday. This isn't the only new COVID relief that Democrats are eyeing after Trump signed a fresh round of relief into law on Sunday. The House of Representatives also voted on Monday to override Trump's veto of the $740 billion defense bill. Okay. Now, the National Defense Authorization Act, they overrode his veto in the House. The Senate has to vote on that as also. Okay. Now, so on Tuesday, December 29th, Senate Majority Leader Moscow Mitch McConnell blocked two separate attempts from Democratic senators to pass a bill that would boost relief payments from $600 up to $2,000, which the House of Representatives narrowly passed on Monday night with Republican support. Okay. And in the House, that was what was that vote? I think it was like 372. No, it was, I forgot. I think that was the one on that one. I think it was like 272 or something like that. They got two more votes than they needed to get a 2/3 majority vote. I forgot exactly what the count was on that. But so McConnell, speaking on the Senate floor on Tuesday, instead indicated that the Senate would work on responding to the concerns raised by Donald Trump when he signed the $900 billion coronavirus pandemic relief bill and the $1.4 trillion spending bill on Sunday. Remember, it was two bills under one vote. So yeah, people putting nonsensical information out saying all this foreign aid is in the $900 billion coronavirus bill. No, that was in the $1.4 trillion U.S. spending bill. There was a $1.4 trillion U.S. spending bill and a $900 billion coronavirus bill. So that's why when you read reports on this, it says the total was $2.3 trillion. That's why. That foreign aid was in the $1.4 trillion U.S. spending bill that helps to fund the government through September 2021. That wasn't in the coronavirus bill. Now, McConnell said the Senate, quote, will begin a process, end quote, to bring three priorities to the table this week, which includes increasing stimulus payments to $2,000, examining a repeal of Section 230, okay, and considering election integrity measures, all demands Trump has made in recent days. Now, it's unclear exactly like how this is going to shape up. And election integrity measures, examining election integrity measures, are you talking about voter fraud? What are you talking about? Now, it's interesting that Mitch McConnell talks about election integrity measures, because I remember a few months ago when Marsha Blackburn, Republican senator from Tennessee, I remember she blocked 3 election integrity bills in the U.S. Senate using the unanimous consent rule. These were election integrity bills to protect the integrity of the 2020 presidential election. And she blocked them in the Senate. So it's interesting now that McConnell is talking about election integrity measures. Well, why weren't y'all talking about that back then? Quote, those are the 3 important subjects the president has linked together this week. The Senate will begin a process to bring these 3 priorities into focus, end quote, McConnell said. Now, after McConnell spoke, Trump once again tweeted a warning saying, quote, unless Republicans have a death wish, and it is also the right thing to do, they must approve the $2,000 payments ASAP. Now, I think he tweeted that from the golf course. He's down in Mar-a-Lago. He's at he's been playing a lot of golf. He was playing golf with Lindsey Graham. They've been negotiating for 8 months because Democrats in the House of Representatives passed the $3.4 trillion HEROES Act May 15, 2020. Where the hell have you been? If you wanted $2,000, why don't you tell Mitch McConnell that when he let the U.S. Senate go on recess for a month for the summer, and they hadn't passed a coronavirus bill, and they let the $600 a week in federal unemployment insurance expire July 31st, 2020. Why don't you tell McConnell that if you wanted $2,000? Because if Trump wanted $2,000, this is what Democrats wanted from the beginning. That was in the $3.4 trillion HEROES Act. That's what they wanted. So if Trump wanted $2,000, he could have gotten that months ago. Why don't you tell McConnell that? Why don't you tell Steve Mnuchin? Steve Mnuchin, your Treasury Secretary, he's the one that came up with the $600. $600 stimulus checks. That came from Steve Mnuchin, your Treasury Secretary, that's negotiating the deal on behalf of the White House. Why don't you tell him that? So after McConnell spoke, Trump once again tweeted, warning, saying, unless Republicans have a death wish and it is also the right thing to do, they must approve the $2,000 payments ASAP. Now, it's unclear at this point how McConnell plans to proceed, but he does intend to tie those 3 issues Trump wanted addressed together into one bill. It's unlikely to pass, however. Now, Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, said on the U.S. Senate floor, quote, if we start adding poison pills to the $2,000 payment bill, the direct payments, that is just another way of telling the American people that this body, the Senate, doesn't support $2,000 payments. Now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat from New York, on Tuesday called for unanimous consent to boost the direct payments to $2,000 per qualifying American, but McConnell objected and the request was blocked. Now, I asked the question last night on our show yesterday, and I'll ask this question again. It's just like Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, a couple weeks ago, he blocked $1,200 stimulus checks in the Senate. We posted an article about this. You can research this. Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, he blocked $1,200 stimulus checks in the Senate. This is the same Ron Johnson who blocked the Juneteenth bill in the Senate as well. That would have made Juneteenth a national holiday and given white people the day off from work. So if you can't get $1,200 stimulus checks passed in the Senate that would have benefited his constituents, many of his white Republican constituents in Wisconsin and white people across the country, if you can't get that passed in the Senate, if you can't get a Juneteenth bill passed in the Senate to make Juneteenth a federal holiday and give white people the day off from work, then how you going to get a reparations bill passed in the Senate to pay out trillions of dollars in reparations to African Americans for slavery and working for free, and chattel slavery ended in 1865? I'm all for reparations, but I ain't for nonsense. Now, I'm for logical, strategical methods to get reparations and legal reasons, legal arguments for reparations. I'm not for playing games. Because I hear people talk about reparations, but like, you do know this has to pass both the House and the Senate, right? You can't even get HR 40 passed in the House of Representatives, and Republicans control the House. I mean, Democrats control the House of Representatives. You can't even get HR 40 passed in the House of Representatives, and that's a bill to study reparations. If you can't get a bill passed to study reparations, how the hell are you going to get one passed to pay reparations? Or maybe the argument that you're making is the wrong argument. At the same time, America needs a massive history lesson, because Americans are woefully ignorant on history and the ramifications of slavery and the cause of the Civil War. That's why I talk about this study here from the Southern Poverty Law Center, teaching hard history, American slavery. A lot of people are not making the connection. This study right here documents how the history of slavery is being incorrectly taught in schools all across the country. They did a survey of 1,000 high school seniors. People need to read this. Teaching Hard History, American Slavery. This is a 56-page study from the Southern Poverty Law Center. And one of the things they do, if you look at, you can download this study for free. I took it to the printer, got and printed up. And I teach from this also. And I teach my online courses. We're going to start the online courses again, I think early January. I'm in the process of going over the curriculum that I teach, because I created I teach an online course called Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, you've never seen anything like it before. It's a 8-session, 16-hour online course, and we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads to the transatlantic slave trade happening. But when they did this survey of 1,000 high school seniors, they found that only 8% of high school seniors surveyed can identify slavery as the central cause of the Civil War. Only 8%, not 80%, only 8%. They ain't know what caused the Civil War. Okay? So the legacy of the slavery and racism, discrimination, redlining, African Americans being locked out of massive land giveaways, which then create wealth for white people after 246 years of largely free labor. Okay. The Homestead Act of 1862, Southern Homestead Act of 1856, Dawes Allotment Act of 1887, all this redlining, Jim Crow segregation, deindustrialization of the inner city, being locked out of, largely locked out of the GI Bill of 1944, being locked out of all different types of government programs. Okay, understanding the impact that the programs from the New Deal had, which did to some extent help African Americans, but also discriminated against us. So from 1930 to 1939, because of the Farmers Home Administration and the loans given to white farmers so they can pay their mortgages on their farms, keep their farms afloat, pay their employees, things like that, and we're discriminating against those loans, we lose about 200,000 farms from 1930 to 1939. That's during the Great Depression. Okay, so understanding racism as a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, coming out of the ideology of European white supremacy, and understanding how all this ties into the conditions of African Americans today. But America needs a massive history lesson before you start paying out reparations. That ain't gonna happen. If you can't get a bill passed to study reparations, how you gonna get one passed to pay it? Nobody wants to ask these questions. 2/3 or 68% of high school senior surveyed did not know that it took a constitutional amendment to formally end slavery. Many of them thought it was the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863. No, it was the 13th Amendment. It wasn't the Emancipation Proclamation. Fewer than 1 in 4 students, or 22%, can correctly identify how provisions in the U.S. Constitution gave advantages to slaveholders, like the 3/5 Compromise of 1787, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution, okay, which gave an advantage to slaveholding states when it came to representation in the U.S. House of Representatives. Or Article 4, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution laid the foundation for the Fugitive Slave Acts of 1793 and the one in either 1850 or 1852. That's in the U.S. Constitution. Even though 5 states had already abolished slavery by 1787, when the Constitution is being debated and drafted at the Philadelphia Convention in the spring of 1787. All right, so look, we're going to continue this discussion on our social media platforms. So if you're watching on Facebook, at the African History Network on Facebook, and on YouTube, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP on YouTube. Keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting there. We're out of time here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, WFDF. If you'd like this type of information, also, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show, and at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on the yellow donate button. All of my DVD lectures are there. We have presentations dealing with Kwanzaa and the history of Kwanzaa, history of Christmas, all of that. Remember, right now is correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. Stand by, everybody. Let me disconnect this call from the radio station. All right. How's everybody doing? Okay, let's keep going here. All right. So we do 1 hour on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, WFDF in Detroit. And we keep going here on our social media platforms. We'll be here for a little while longer. There were other topics I wanted to get to tonight, other important stories, but we have to do that tomorrow night. There's only so much I can do in one show. And I don't want this to be a 3-hour show because I have other work to do. All right, African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Email us at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And then we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. We have a few more spots left, and we create a video commercial for you also, 30-second to 60-second video commercial that air when we rebroadcast these shows. So I'm working on commercials the next few days as well. With blackbusinesstee.com, the messages are clear and meaningful. Keep your business in the black and out of the red. Mind your black business, know your numbers, and plan strategically. Black Business Boss, lead your industry. Support black business, encourage, patronize, and uplift one another. Blackbusinesstee.com currently has products sold in Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, with proceeds returned to the black community. They have a wide selection of hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, hats, sweatshirts that support black-owned businesses. Visit the website blackbusinesstee.com. That's blackbusinesstee.com. As owner of Kita Health and Well LLC, health coach, certified nutritionist, and trainer in the matter of diabetes and chronic disease, Peggy Chavis is offering a gift of start on January 2nd, 21. You can purchase a gift certificate for a loved one or friend of shopping gift. She will also buy a couple of these gift certificates. This is an ongoing 20 program with a focus on achieving weight, blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure, and mindset. The program includes personal accountability, workarounds for all levels, nutrition and supplement, tools and resources, a secret Facebook support group, or optional one-on-one. In the Peggy Chavis, she has other coaches with different specialties also be participating in the program. They specialize in areas of diabetes, pre-diabetes, physical training, mindset, to name a few. Contact A at 84837-7647. That's 8437747, and on Facebook at peggychavis.giftsofhealth. On Facebook, peggychavis.of. Intuitive Design Clothing is an online accessory store that sells one-of-a-kind signature pieces for men and women. They also specialize in fashion consultations, closet organization, and decorating small spaces. Are you looking for a piece for a special affair, or would you like to add some select pieces ensemble of accessories? If you're looking for something different, definitely contact Kathy Norman, owner of Intuitive Design Clothing. Visit their website, intuitivedesignClothing.com. That's intuitivedesignClothing.com, and you email her at info@intuitivedesignClothing.com. Intuitive Design Clothing is where every entrance is a grand entrance. Visit 4glossygirls.com. That's the number 4glossygirls.com, and follow them on Instagram at 4glossygirls. Okay, so if we go back to this article here, this is from abcnews.go.com, ABC News official website. And then NBC News had an article as well. McConnell Blocks Senate Democrats move to pass $2,000 coronavirus checks. McConnell Blocks Senate Democrats move to pass $2,000 coronavirus stimulus checks. Okay. We'll post this here. So let's go back to this article. So Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on Tuesday called for unanimous consent to boost the direct payments to $2,000 per qualifying American, but McConnell objected and the request was blocked. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said, I don't want to hear that we can't afford it. I don't want to hear that it would add too much to the deficit. Senate Republicans added nearly $2 trillion to the deficit to give corporations a massive tax cut. He's correct. Okay. You weren't talking about the deficit when you had the $1.4 trillion tax cut that added almost $2 trillion to the deficit to help your billionaire donors and your friend. You weren't talking about the deficit then. Now, when it comes time to actually help Americans, Now all of a sudden, oh, you want to cry about the deficit. Let's see if we can go to this clip. We'll try to pull up this clip here, also from MSNBC. Let's continue. So Leader McConnell holds the key to unlocking this dilemma, Senator Chuck Schumer said. Now, Senator Bernie Sanders is talking about doing a filibuster in the Senate. Just after Schumer spoke, Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, also asked for unanimous consent that after the Senate vote to override the defense policy veto, the defense bill, okay, that has to be vetoed in the Senate. After they vote for that, which is expected to happen on Wednesday, Senator Bernie Sanders is asking that the Senate take up and pass the $2,000 stimulus checks bill. Now, McConnell also objected to that as well. Senator Bernie Sanders then objected to the National Defense and Authorization Act override vote taking place on Wednesday, which could keep the Senate in longer than leadership, keep it in session longer than leadership intended. And let me see. Let's look at this clip here. Okay, this is Senator Chuck Schumer. I'm not going to go to McConnell. We already know what he said.
$600, nope, it's not enough. So in a moment, I will move to have the $600, nope, it's not enough. So in a moment, I will move to have the Senate take up the House bill to increase that number to $2,000, which I might add had broad bipartisan support. I don't want to hear that we can't afford it. I don't want to hear that it would add too much to the deficit. Senate Republicans added nearly $2 trillion to the deficit to give corporations a massive tax cut. Republicans just fought to include a tax break for 3 martini lunches in the COVID relief bill. So I don't want to hear it that it costs too much to help working families get a check when they're struggling to keep their jobs, pay their families, pay their rent, feed their families, and live a halfway normal and decent life. Even in our deeply divided times, Madam President, this issue has united Americans from coast to coast and bridged the massive political divide here in Washington. A vast majority of the public, Republican and Democrat, strongly support $2,000 checks. An overwhelming bipartisan majority in the House supports 2,000 checks. Senate Democrats strongly support $2,000 checks. Even President Trump supports $2,000 checks. There's one question left today. Do Senate Republicans join with the rest of America in supporting $2,000 checks? Now, some of my Republican colleagues have said they support the checks, but there's a major difference in saying you support $2,000 checks and fighting to put them into law. The House bill is the only way to deliver these stimulus checks before the end of session. Will Senate Republicans fight for a vote on the House-passed Cash Act, or will they look some other way? Will Senate Republicans stand against the House of Representatives, the Democratic majority in the Senate, and the president of their own party to prevent these $2,000 checks from going out the door? We're about to get the answers to these questions. So now, Madam President, I ask consent to set the Madam President, where am I? Would the senator modify his request to include a unanimous consent request that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 9051, a bill received from the House to increase recovery rebate amounts to $2,000 per individual, that the bill be read a third time and passed, The motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection to the modification?
Object.
Objection is heard.
Okay, so that was Mitch McConnell objecting. Okay, so check out that clip from MSNBC. Schumer calls on Senate to unanimously pass stimulus check increase. That's from December 29th, 2020. Schumer calls on Senate to unanimously pass stimulus check increase. That's from December 29th, 2020. And that's in the article from NBCnews.com. McConnell Blocks Senate Democrats move to pass $2,000 coronavirus checks. We're going to post the link here as well to that article from NBC News for you to check out. The majority leader teed up a bill to increase the payments, repeal liability protections for tech companies, and create an election study commission, things that Trump demanded. It's not, if they tie all that together in one bill, it's expected that's not going to pass the Senate. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Now, the section 230 of the dealing with the tech companies, that dealt with, if I remember correctly, tech companies being held responsible. I got to look at that again. That dealt with tech companies being held responsible for content or something. I forgot what that was. Section 230. That was something that Trump was complaining about. And okay, yeah, the $2,000 stimulus check that passed the House by a vote of 275 to 134. 275 to 134. They needed a minimum of 273. That's for the 2/3 majority vote to be able to override a veto. And let me see, which article was that? That was dealing with the $1.4 trillion stimulus check. And let's see, where is that? We've got Showdown 230. I think it was the one from Politico that talked about that. I have to look at that up. Okay, let's keep going. Or which, okay, I'll look that up. Let's see what that is. All right, let's continue. So we'll see what happens with the stimulus checks. Now, if we look at what's going on in Georgia, I posted about this on the 28th, on Monday. Judge blocks voter purge in 2 Georgia counties. Judge blocks voter purge in 2 Georgia counties. And I'm looking at the section 230. CNBC has an article. Trump is trying to link stimulus checks, defense spending to a contentious tech protection. What to know? This deals with section 230. Section 230 shields tech companies from being held liable for what users post on their platforms. Trump wants it repealed. Okay. Section 230 shields tech companies from being held liable for what users post on their platforms. Trump wants it repealed. Now, Trump is pressuring Republican allies over a law that has protected social media companies for decades. In his final week in office, Trump has launched a full-bore attack on Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. The Communications Decency Act, which is the 1996 law that shields tech companies from being held liable for what users post on their platforms. Trump wants Section 230 gone. He has tied the issue to the passage of a crucial annual defense spending bill. That's the National Defense and Authorization Act. More recently, to the prospect of approving an increase in coronavirus relief checks to $2,000 to $2,000 from $6,000. Okay, unless Republicans have a death wish and it is also the right thing to do, they must approve the $2,000 payments ASAP. $600 is not enough, Trump tweeted on Tuesday. He also said in a tweet, also get rid of Section 230. Don't let big tech steal our country, and don't let the Democrats steal the presidential election. Get tough. All right. What election? You lost. You lost fair and square. Get over it. Now, politicians on both sides of the aisle, including President-elect Joe Biden, have voiced complaints about Section 230, and some have taken steps toward reforming the provision. But there's little appetite on Capitol Hill for repealing Section 230 outright, much less for slipping such a repeal into the $740 billion defense bill or the latest pandemic relief legislation. However, Senate Majority Leader Moscow Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, appears to have taken heed to Trump's demands. On Tuesday afternoon, McConnell introduced a bill that would directly couple an increase in stimulus checks with a repeal of Section 230. That bill would also form a bipartisan commission to study the, quote, integrity and administration, end quote, of the 2020 election. Integrity and administration of the 2020 election, which Trump has falsely insisted he won over Biden. McConnell's bill is unlikely to reach the 60 vote threshold in the Senate required to pass in the Senate, but its failure could be a win for Republican lawmakers, many of whom had opposed a boost in stimulus checks and were caught off guard by Trump's late stage demand. Now, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act was written by Representative Chris Cox, Republican of California, and Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, following a 1995 court ruling against the online service Prodigy. The online service Prodigy, 1995 court ruling. That company, Prodigy, had been sued for defamation after an anonymous user on his platform accused an investment firm of fraud. The court ruled that because Prodigy moderated some of the posts on the platform, it should be treated like a publisher. Okay, the court ruled that because Prodigy moderated some of the posts on their platform, that Prodigy should be treated like a publisher. Okay, I guess kind of like a newspaper publisher, USA Today, New York Times. Now, Representative Chris Cox, Republican from California, and Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, disagreed with that decision. They introduced Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act as a way of protecting technology companies from becoming legally liable for their users' content if they opted to moderate the content. The law allows for companies to engage in what's known as Good Samaritan, quote unquote, Good Samaritan moderation of some material without being treated like a publisher or speaker under the law. Okay, now, more than 2 decades later, because that law went into effect in 1996, more than 2 decades later, the prospect of repealing Section 230 would likely be a deal breaker for many lawmakers. Throughout countless discussions about reforming the liability shield, members have largely agreed that some of its protections are important for their continued function of an open and relatively safe internet. For example, the law section 230 not only protects technology platforms from being held accountable for their users' posts, but it also allows them to remove quote unquote objectionable messages. While the term is open for the platform's interpretations, that portion of the law allows companies such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, which is owned by Google, to swiftly remove messages of terrorism, violence, or self-harm without fearing that a lapse of judgment will land them in legal trouble. And while conservatives aim for fewer restrictions to be imposed on their posts, their social media posts, repealing Section 230 could result in even more limitations. Without its liability protection, platforms could be incentivized to screen more content before it can be uploaded. Okay, so check out the rest of this. Check out the rest of this article here from CNBC. Okay, this is a good article from CNBC, which explains Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Trump is trying to link stimulus checks, defense spending to a contentious tech protection. What to know? This is from December 29th, 2020 from CNBC.com. All right, let's see here. Okay, we'll post that. All right, let's keep going. So, and let's try to turn on the screen share. See the article here. This one here from CNBC. Trump's trying to link stimulus checks, defense spending to a contentious tech protection. What to know? Okay, so that article from CNBC.com. All right, now. I want to go to this one here from Politico. Judge blocks voter purge in Georgia counties. Judge blocks voter purge in Georgia counties. So this is from December 28th, Monday, December 28th, 2020. We posted this on our Facebook fan page. This ties into the Georgia January 5th, 2021 senatorial elections, Senate elections, right? A federal judge in Georgia ordered 2 counties to reverse a decision removing more than 4,000 voters from the rolls ahead of the January 5th runoff elections. A federal judge in Georgia ordered 2 counties to reverse a decision removing more than 4,000 voters from the rolls ahead of the January 5th runoff elections. So a federal judge handed down this ruling on Monday, December 28th. The Judge Leslie Abrams Gardner, the sister of former gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, a prominent ally of President-elect Joe Biden, who has led voter registration efforts across the state. Judge Leslie Abrams Gardner concluded that the counties appear to have improperly relied on unverified change of address data to invalidate registrations in the 2 counties. Judge Leslie Abrams Gardner ruled that she ruled that the counties appear to have improperly relied on unverified change of address data to invalidate registrations in the two counties. Now, the bulk of the registrations that the county sought to rescind, more than 4,000 voters, they want to knock more than 4,000 voters off the rolls. The bulk of the registrations that the counties wanted to rescind were in Muskogee County, which Joe Biden won handily in November. An additional 150 were from Ben Hill County, which Trump won by a wide margin. Now, the lawsuit brought by National Democratic Party attorney Mark Elias group, Democracy Forward, followed an effort to challenge the lengthy roster of voters simply because their registrations appear to match U.S. Postal Service change of address records. Okay, the lawsuit followed an effort to challenge the lengthy roster of voters simply because their registrations appear to match U.S. Postal Service change of address records. Voting officials in the two counties agreed to remove the voters despite warnings from Democrats that such postal data is not a reliable or conclusive indicator that a voter has given up their local residence. Okay, so they're saying that the U.S. Postal Service data is not an adequate indication that somebody has changed their address. Voting officials in the two counties agreed to remove the voters despite warnings from Democrats that such postal data is not a reliable or conclusive indicator that a voter has given up their local residence. Now, after Judge Leslie Abrams Gardner's ruling, Mark Elias hailed the decision as, quote, as a, quote, blow to GOP suppression, end quote. We continue to monitor how other Georgia counties respond to the suppression scheme, Mark Elias said. He went on to say, where necessary, we will sue and we will win, end quote. Now, the evidence to challenge the 4,000 registrations in Muskogee County was particularly sparse. Okay, the evidence to challenge these 4,000 registrations in Muskogee County, they had very little evidence. The challenge was lodged December 14th, 2020, by a local voter named Ralph Russell, who alleged that he had compared evidence from the publicly accessible voter registration databases to prove that these voters had moved out of Georgia. Now, Ralph Russell told the county board, quote, I believe that each of the individuals named as a result of registering their name and change of address to a location outside of Muskogee County, removed to another state with the intention of making the new state their residence. Thus, each individual has lost their residence in Muskogee County, and consequently, each individual is ineligible to vote in Muskogee County. Now, the Muskogee County Board met on December 16th, 2020, and backed Ralph Russell's motion by a vote of 3-1, even though he didn't attend the meeting and provided no additional evidence to support his challenge. Voters on Ralph Russell's list, per the Muskogee County Board, would be required to vote by provisional ballot and present additional evidence of residency to vote. Let me see. So Judge Gardner's ruling, 11-page ruling released Monday night, noted that the removals of the voters appear to violate federal law because they were not given proper notice and because they qualify as the type of systematic voter roll cleaning that is not permitted within 90 days of a federal election, or voter purge or voter suppression. The Muskogee County Board filed a motion early Monday arguing that Judge Gardner must remove herself from the case based on her relationship with her sister, Stacey Abrams. Lawyers for the board described Abrams as a, quote, a Georgia politician and voting rights activist who was the Democratic candidate in the 2018 Georgia gubernatorial election and has since engaged in various highly publicized efforts to increase voter registration and turnout for the 2020 general election in Georgia, end quote. The motion requesting Judge Gardner's recusal noted that a voter registration group affiliated with Stacey Abrams, Fair Fight, her group Fair Fight, filed a suit in another federal court in Georgia last week, complaining that a national organization dedicated to targeting voter fraud, True the Vote. Now this is one of these organizations that's supporting Donald Trump, and they're filing these frivolous lawsuits in courts trying to overturn the results of elections in various states. This is True the Vote. Okay, this is the same True the Vote that the businessman Eshelman is trying to get his $2.5 million back. That he donated $2.5 million. They said we're going to file lawsuits and overturn the results of the election. You remember me talking about that article from TheGuardian.com. Trump supporter who gave $2.5 million to fight election fraud wants money back. Okay, that's from TheGuardian.com. You all remember me talking about that article. Let's pull that one up again. This deals with the organization True the Vote. A businessman, Frederick Mann, sues pro-Trump elections ethics group, citing disappointing results of effort to expose cheating. And this is from September 28th, 2020. Frederick Eshelman, a businessman from Carolina, said he gave the money to the Vote, a pro-Trump election group that promised to lawsuits and 7 swings as part of it to, quote, investigate, litigate, suspected illegal balloting and fraud 20 general election. Let me see if we can blow this up a little bit. Okay. You'll be able to see that. Okay, so that's True the Vote. Okay, so organization is True the Vote. True the Vote is the same organization. True the Vote is the same organization that is challenging Judge Gardner, Abrams' sister, ruling on this case. The motion requests Gardner's recusal. The motion requesting Judge Gardner's recusal noted that a voter registration group affiliated with Abrams' Fair Fight filed a suit in another federal court in Georgia last week, complaining that a national organization dedicated to targeting voter fraud, True the Vote, is making unjustified challenges to Georgia voters in the lead up to January 5th runoffs. Okay, that True the Vote may or may not be challenging Judge Gardner on this. I wouldn't be surprised if they are. They may not be calling for her to recuse herself. I'm not sure on that. Now, Abrams' involvement in a Fair Fight litigation is sufficient to satisfy the standard for mandatory judicial recusal, the board's attorneys wrote. Stacey Abrams has a clear interest in the outcome of this proceeding and other similarly situated litigation in Georgia due to her voting advocacy through projects such as Fair Fight and the New Georgia Project. All right, so now Judge Gardner, Stacey Abrams' sister, Judge Leslie Abrams Gardner, was an appointee of President Barack Obama. And Judge Gardner noted the recusal request in her ruling granting the restraining order, and says she is declining to step aside. Quote, the court has reviewed the motion and finds no basis for recusal. An order detailing the court's reasoning is forthcoming, end quote, Judge Gardner wrote. So check out this article here from Politico.com. This is from Monday, December 28th, 2020. Judge blocks voter purge in 2 Georgia counties. So the Georgia race is heating up. Lawsuits are being filed. They're trying to purge people from the voter rolls. Republicans were shocked by Joe Biden winning Georgia by a little more than 12,000 votes. They were shocked by that. And they see a momentum that's building on the ground in Georgia to win this race for Democrats. And so you have Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, the 2 Republican senators. They say they support the $2,000 stimulus checks, even however, before last week, they didn't support $2,000 stimulus checks. Democrats were calling for that back in May. You know, before last week when Trump tweeted about it and did his little 4-minute press conference, his 4-minute lies, his video with lies on Twitter, they weren't, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler weren't calling for $2,000 in stimulus checks. Before that, they weren't doing that. 2 weeks ago, they weren't calling for that. Okay. Let's see here. Some of this we're going to have to say to tomorrow. Let's go to this next topic. How's everybody doing? Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Let's look at this quickly here. Andre Hill, NBCnews.com is reporting Ohio officer who fatally shot Andre Hill in Columbus is fired. Officer Adam Coy's actions, quote, do not live up to the oath of Columbus police does not live up to the oath of a Columbus police officer, end quote, Columbus Public Safety Director Ned Pettis Jr. said in his decision. So the recommendation to terminate a Columbus, Ohio police officer who fatally shot Andre Maurice Hill, a 47-year-old African-American man, was upheld by the city's public safety officer. Now, Officer Adam Coy, a 19-year veteran of the force, was charged on Thursday, December 24th, 2020, with 2 counts of critical misconduct by the Columbus Police Department. Non-criminal charges that only apply to Adam Coy's employment review. Non-criminal charges that only apply to Adam Coy's employment review. Now, Columbus Police Chief Thomas Quinlan recommended Adam Coy's termination over the officer's failure to turn on his body camera prior to shooting Andre Hill on December 22nd, 2020, and his failure to provide medical assistance. He was terminated over his failure to turn on his body camera prior to shooting Andre Hill and his failure to provide medical assistance. Now, Columbus Police Chief Thomas Quinlan's recommendation was upheld by Columbus Public Safety Director Ned Pettis Jr. following an administrative hearing on Monday, December 28th. Pettis noted that Quinlan's presentation of evidence was, quote unquote, indisputable. Okay. Columbus Public Safety Director Ned Pettis Jr. noted that Columbus Police Chief Thomas Quinlan's presentation of evidence was indisputable in a statement announcing the discussion. Announcing the decision. Quote, the actions of Adam Coy do not live up to the oath of a Columbus police officer or the standards we and the community demand of our officers, end quote. The shooting of Andre Hill is a tragedy for all who loved him, in addition to the community and our decision of police and our division of police, I should say, end quote. Now, Brian Steele, vice president of the local lodge of the Fraternal Order of Police, confirmed to NBC affiliate WCMH that Officer Adam Coy was fired on Monday. A union representative for Adam Coy did not immediately respond to a request for comment from NBC News. Adam Coy could still face criminal charges in the shooting. Franklin County Prosecutor Ron O'Brien appointed Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost, YOST, as a special prosecutor to conduct an investigation of Andre Hill's case. The Fraternal Order of Police has previously released a statement urging calm until the investigations into the shooting are complete. While the statement did not mention Adam Coy by name, it did say, quote, every citizen, including officers, deserves due process, end quote. Usually if it's a situation where the officer is like totally innocent, Fraternal Order of Police would have said that in the statement. Usually if it's a situation where the officer is like totally innocent, they wouldn't say we're calling for calm and until the investigations to the shootings are complete. They say, no, the officer didn't do anything wrong. They say, no, the officer didn't do anything wrong. The officer feared for his life, blah, 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 blah. Quote, this is what accountability looks like. Police Chief Thomas Quinlan said Monday following Pettis' decision. The quote, the evidence provided solid rationale for termination. Mr. Coy will now have to answer to the state investigators for the death of Andre Hill, end quote. All right, so Andre Maurice Hill was a guest of the homeowner and had not committed a crime when two officers approached the garage he was standing in around 1:30 a.m. last week. Both officers who interacted with Hill failed to activate their body-worn cameras until immediately after the shooting, a violation of department protocol. Okay, so check out this article here from NBC News. So, first step, this is towards the beginning of this whole process. So firing is the first step. Next step is to indict them on charges, arrest them, have a trial, convict them based upon the evidence, and then sentence them to prison. Ohio officer who fatally shot Andre Hill in Columbus is fired. This is from NBCnews.com, December 28th, 2020. Let's see, where are we here? Oh, okay. We're going to we'll deal with this very briefly here, dealing with Dr. King. We'll try to deal with this some tomorrow night. And also today is the birthday of Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. We'll talk about him just a little bit, then we have to get out of here. So Black Information News, BINnews.com, had an article from December 28th that I saw. We posted this on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. NYPD officer who saved MLK's life, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life, after 1958 stabbing, dies at age 93. Okay, dies at age 93. How's everybody doing watching? Ricky and Sylvia, Charles, Michael, just a few of the people watching. Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. All right, and then also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, so some people don't know about this story, but Dr. King was stabbed in the chest with a letter opener in 1958 while he was doing a book signing for his first book. His first book was entitled Stride Toward Freedom. Stride Toward Freedom. It was about the Montgomery bus boycott. And it came out in 1958. Okay, his book. So former NYPD, so there were two police officers who rendered Dr. King aid there on the scene. One white, one African American. The white officer's name was Al Howard. Okay, I've talked about this in the past. Former NYPD officer Al Howard died late October 2020 at the age of 93 after falling ill with coronavirus. Al Howard, longtime owner for Showman's Jazz Club in Harlem, New York, saved the life of civil rights icon Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. after a woman stabbed him in the chest. Her name was Izola Ware Curry. Izola Ware Curry. And I've talked about this on my shows in the past. She was a mentally deranged African-American woman who stabbed Dr. King in the chest with a letter opener while he was doing a book signing. History.com, the official website of the History Channel, has an article dealing with this, how an assassination attempt affirmed MLK's faith in nonviolence. How an assassination attempt affirmed MLK's faith in nonviolence. This is from January 15th, 2020, written by Christopher Klein for History.com. Now, Officer Al Howard recounted the incredible incident to his friend and a deputy NYPD commissioner, John Miller, at age 91, former Officer Al Howard. After rumors about Howard's actions swirled around, the friend wanted to confirm the rumors to see if they were true, and they were true. On September 20th, 1958, a 31-year-old Officer Al Howard was driving a patrol car with a rookie he'd only met that day, Officer Philip Romano. Officer Al Howard had been 3 years on the job. The two got a call over the radio about an incident at Blumstein's department store in Harlem. Blumstein's department store in Harlem. When they arrived on the scene, they found Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., 29 years old at the time, sitting still in a chair on the second floor with a letter opener stuck in his chest. A woman has stabbed the civil rights leader while he was signing copies of his book, Stride Toward Freedom, which is about the Montgomery bus boycott. According to the report by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, an advertising executive for the Amsterdam News, a notable black newspaper, grabbed the woman who stabbed Dr. King and held her until a security officer took her. Another woman reached to take the blade out of Dr. King's chest, fearing he might die. But Officer Al Howard and Officer Philip Romano stopped her in time, knowing that the blade was probably keeping him alive because it was reducing the amount of blood that was coming out. Okay. Now, quote, in those days, we didn't have walkie-talkies, end quote, former Officer Al Howard said. He told this to Spring 3100, an internal police department magazine, in an interview years afterwards. Quote, the only radio we had was the one in the patrol car. We were entirely on our own. And believe me, it was some predicament, end quote. Now, in his retelling of the story to Miller, Al Howard said he got to a telephone and called Harlem Hospital. A doctor told them to leave the blade in and that they'd send an ambulance. Officer Al Howard noticed the growing crowd and asked the doctor to send the ambulance to the back of the store. From there, the two officers created a diversion to get Dr. King to the hospital quickly and safely. Officer Al Howard went to the front of the store where the crowd was and announced that Dr. King would be coming through the front door and asked for a path to be cleared. It worked. And Officer Al Howard stayed out front as if he was waiting for the ambulance. Meanwhile, Officer Philip Romano and others carried a still seated Dr. King to the ambulance via the back entrance on 124th Street. Now, doctors at Harlem Hospital saved Dr. King's life, a miraculous feat after the blade had almost struck his aorta valve. Now, authorities arrested and charged Isola Ware Curry, Curry, a woman who experienced mental illness and believed Dr. King and others had been following her. She was charged with the stabbing. Dr. King spent weeks in New York City recovering from the incident. He reflected on the incident in a speech in Memphis, Tennessee, the day before he was assassinated. It was April 3rd, 1968, when he gave the speech in Memphis, Tennessee. Quote, "It came out in the New York Times the next morning that if I had merely sneezed, I would have died." End quote, he remarked. "I'm so happy that I didn't sneeze." Now, Officer Al Howard reacted to the news of Dr. King's assassination in 1968, 10 years after the stabbing, with much of the sadness many around the nation and world did. He later retired and became the owner of the Showman's Jazz Club in Harlem. This year, 2020, the renowned club was forced to shut down amid the coronavirus pandemic. Al Howard and his partner at Showman's, Mona Lopez, flew to Las Vegas in September and came down with what they thought was a cold, but was actually COVID-19. Al Howard, former police officer Al Howard, who helped save Dr. King's life, died several days later. A funeral was held October 27th in Queens, New York, limited in size due to social distancing guidelines. His grandson, Malik Howard, read from an obituary that listed several of his accomplishments, including his heroic efforts to save Dr. King's life. So check out this article here from BINnews.com, Black Information Network, BINnews.com. Check out this article and check out this article and also the one from history.com, the official website of the History Channel, history.com, how an assassination attempt affirmed MLK's faith in nonviolence. And then there was one from, I think it was the New York Daily News or something like that. There was a article. I was trying to find it before doing today's show. It was dealing with the two officers who helped save Dr. King's life. Maybe it's this one here. I think it was this one here from the Daily Beast. The black and white man who saved Martin Luther King's life. I think maybe it was this one right here. This is from the Daily Beast. The black and white man who saved Martin Luther King's life. Because I remember it was a few years ago that I read the article. Let's see here. Yeah, Al Howard and Philip Romano. Now, I thought in one of these articles they had a picture of the officers. Let me look at something here. Oh, come on. Let's see. Okay, 58. As it happened, one of the cops was black, the other white, and the same was the case with the two surgeons. One surgeon who saved Dr. King's life was white, the other was African American. Each pair worked as true partners, proving that the color of their skin meant nothing and translating the content of their character into life-saving action. They demonstrated by doing what they did the way they did it that mattered. They demonstrated by doing what they did the way they did it. What mattered was their shared knowledge and skill and nerve. Okay. Yeah. So Philip Romano was the African-American officer. All right, check out this article here from the Daily Beast. The black and white men who saved Martin Luther King's life. The black and men who saved Martin Luther King's life. One officer was white, one was African-American, one was white, one surgeon was American also. Check that out, thedailybeast.com, and that is by Michael Lee from August 14th, 2017. Originally published January 20th, 20, updated April 14th, 2017. With blackbusinesstee.com, the messages are clear and meaningful. Keep your business in the black and out of the red. Mind your black business. Know your numbers and plan strategically. Black business boss, lead your industry. Support black business, encourage, patronize, and uplift one another. Blackbusinesstee.com currently has products sold in Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, with proceeds returned to the black community. They have a wide selection of hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, hats, sweatshirts that support black-owned businesses. Visit the website blackbusinesstee.com. That's blackbusinesstee.com. For 45 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed history mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Museum, and he is a highly sought after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, health, and race relations. Khalid was named Change Makers for NBC Universal Face the Hate Pain and listed as one of 100 men of decision for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Pop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more, please contact Dr. Khalid Kim directly, 1-645-413-645-197, or website at blackhistorymuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobile.com. You can also email him at history101.com, b101@yahoo.com. You tasted the famous No Frowny Brownie from the Pink Bakery? If not, what are you waiting for? They are vegan, gluten-free, and free of Big 8 allergens. While eating their No Frownies, the fabulous Miss Tabitha Brown said they were very, very good. And if she says that, they are. The bakery is the first black-owned, big allergen baking mix company. Go to thepinkbakery.com, that's thepinkbakery.com, to order their No Frowny Brownie today. Are you ready for a new black? Well, Happy, Pharaoh of Economics in the Development of Civilization, is a brand new documentary that you a new path of knowledge and enlightenment. The Happy films viewers a snapshot of our economic history from the dawn of civilization up until today. Underlying film is the interrelationship between the three essential components of economics, politics, and culture. Happy brings together the brightest and most prolific minds in the field of psychology, history, business, and politics, such as Dr. Leonard Jefferson, James Small, Dr. Julian, Dr. Zahi Hawass, and Sazi, and more. Together, they deliver a message of cooperative economic, financial independence, and a life that we can all be inspired by. The film is on sale now. It's streaming on all digital, or please visit Happy, H-A-P-I, Happy.com. Use for code Happy, AHN, for a 10% discount. Okay, lastly, we'll do this a little bit. We'll try to talk about this some more tomorrow. December 29th, 1923 is the birth date of Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, brilliant historian, anthropologist, Grandmaster Scholar Warrior, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. And he was an author, a linguist. When you study African history and you study people like Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakinen, you're going to find out about Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop also. Okay. Just a second here. All right, everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. All right, let's continue. So, and let's pull this up here. Blackpast.org has a article about Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. We posted it on our Facebook fan page today, The African History Network, The African History Network. And let me see, what do we have in birthday celebrations also with celebrities? We posted that as well. Let me take a look at that. We've got, Mekhi Phifer. Okay. So today is the birth date of actor Mekhi Phifer, born December 29th, 1974. He turns 46 years old today. His more notable roles have been as Dr. Greg Pratt on NBC's long-running medical drama ER, and Lim. He played Lim on Soul Food, the movie Soul Food in 1997. And, he played a good portrayal as Lim, but Darren DeWitt Henson, when I think of Lim from Soul Food, I think of Darren DeWitt Henson because of the TV show Soul Food. Fantastic, fantastic show. I still watch it in reruns. That was one of my favorite shows. That was the only reason why I had Showtime. When Soul Food ended, I got rid of Showtime. There's nothing else on Showtime I wanted to see. I had Showtime for Soul Food because when Soul Food on, it was Showtime. Okay. So he also played Mitch in the movie Paid in Full in 2002 and had a co-starring role opposite Eminem as Future in the feature film 8 Mile. It came out in 2002 also. And now 8 Mile is the road that separates Detroit from the suburbs, 8 Mile Road. Now, Mekhi Phifer was a recurring cast member on the Fox crime show Lie to Me in the role of Ben Reynolds before season 3, and also starred as CIA agent Rex Matheson in Torchwood Miracle Day. In 1994, Mekhi Phifer attended an open casting call for director Spike Lee's Clockers, beating over 1,000 others to get the lead role as a narcotics dealer embroiled in a murder cover-up. Mekhi Phifer followed the role with another in the comedy spoof feature High School High, which also starred his former wife, Melinda Williams. Okay. Melinda Williams is going to go on to portray Bird on the TV show Soul Food. All right. Now I didn't know he had been married to Melinda Williams. I guess that shows he has good taste, because she's still fine, Melinda Williams. But in Melinda Williams, I first saw her she was on 2 episodes of The Cosby Show that I know of. One episode, she was a friend of Tempest Bledsoe's character, Vanessa. That was the one. She was the one who was smoking cigarettes in Vanessa's room. Okay. And then another episode, she was the girlfriend of a boy that Vanessa liked. Okay. And so she had 2 different roles on The Cosby Show. And then she's in the holiday, the Christmas holiday movies, dealing with the Littles, I think it is. I think I still got some recorded. I have to go back and finish watching. The what is that? What is that called? The Merry Little, is that the one? Merry Little Christmas? No, that's not it. That's Kelly Rowland. One of those. I forgot which one. But it's they show they have a different one every year for the for Christmas. It's a different one every year. I forgot which one it is, but they're pretty good also. I like those. You know, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, they're all about family. So I like watching those. Okay, so today's the birth date of Mekhi Phifer. So happy birthday to Mekhi Phifer. And also, let's look at this here. I think there was one other one that I did not get a chance to post. Oh, I should have posted this, you know, didn't get a chance to. Sorry about that. Speaking of Climax, the singing group Climax, remember Bernadette Cooper Climax? Today is her birthday also. The National R&B Music Society, Inc. On their page, they talk about the birthday of drummer and vocalist Bernadette Cooper of the all-girls band Climax. You remember Meeting in the Ladies' Room, The Men All Pause, I Miss You? Climax was bad back in the day, like 87. You know, Climax, that was the group. Those sisters were fine. So shout out to Bernadette Cooper also. All right. Now, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop is a distinguished historian and Pan-Africanist political leader. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop was born in Senegal on December 23rd, 1933, to a Muslim Wolof family, W-O-L-O-F, Wolof. That's the high culture or the tribe or the nation, the Wolof, okay? Part of the peasant class, his family belonged to the African Mouride Islamic sect, M-O-U-R-I-D-E. Not sure how to pronounce that. Diop grew up in both Quranic, and French colonial schools. Upon completing his bachelor's degree in Senegal, Diop moved to Paris, France, where he began his graduate studies at the Sorbonne in 1946 in physics. Once at the Sorbonne, however, Cheikh Anta Diop became involved in the African students' anti-colonial movement, where young intellectuals worked for African independence. He helped organize the first Pan-African Student Congress in Paris in 1951 and in 1956. He helped organize the first Pan-African Student Congress in Paris in 1951, and in 1956 participated in the first World Congress of Black Writers and Artists in Paris. These movements laid the groundwork for a growing African liberation sentiment supported by the ideological arguments of negritude, Marxism, and Pan-Africanism. Committed to the richness of African history, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop's 1951 PhD dissertation looked into ancient Egyptian history and the influence it had on European culture. This is what his PhD dissertation was on, okay? Ancient Egyptian, it was on ancient Egyptian history and the influence it had on European culture. At a time when European cultural superiority was the accepted notion, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop proclaimed that African civilizations were the inspiration and origin of European accomplishments. Okay, at a time when European cultural superiority was the accepted notion, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop proclaimed that African civilizations were the inspiration and origin of European accomplishments. The Sorbonne rejected his dissertation, yet his work nevertheless received worldwide attention. In 1955, his work was published as A Nation's Negres et Culture, Negro Nations and Culture, Negres et Culture, a publication that would make him one of the most widely known and controversial historians of his era, partly due to the response to the book. In 1960, Dr. Diop was awarded his doctorate by the Sorbonne. That same year, Senegal gained its independence, and Diop returned to his home country. In Senegal, he was appointed a research fellow at an institute at Dakar University, where he set up a radiocarbon dating laboratory. In 1961 and 1963, he created political opposition parties, and these parties opposed the pro-French policies of President Leopold Senghor's government. The parties were Bloc des Masses Senegalais and the Front National du Senegal. The Bloc des Masses was banned in 1963. In response to the dissolution of the parties, Diop founded another one, the R&D, Resemblement National Democratic in 1976, the R&D. The R&D published the Wolof Language Journal, of which Diop was the editor. As a renowned scholar and political activist, Diop was appointed professor of ancient history at Dakar University in 1980. Okay, he was appointed professor of ancient history at Dakar University in 1980. Over his career, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop published a number of books, including 7, which were translated into English. His most famous works, The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality in 1974, The Cultural Unity of Black Africa in 1978, and Towards the African Renaissance, Essays in African Culture and Development, 1946 to 1960, which came out in 1978. Dr. Diop received the highest award for scientific research from the Institut Culturel Africain in 1982. As a testament to his global effect, Dr. Diop was invited to Atlanta, Georgia in 1985, where Mayor Andrew Young proclaimed April 4th, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop Day. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop Day, April 4th, proclaimed by Mayor Andrew Young in 1985. The many books Dr. Diop published in French were all dedicated to African self-improvement and the reconstruction of a colonially fragmented identity. Dr. Diop had 2 sons with his wife, Louise Marie Diop Maes, M-A-E-S. On February 1st, 1986, Dr. Diop died in Dakar, Senegal at the age of 63. So he was a young man. He was a young man when he passed away, only 63 years old. Now, there were in 1978, Dr. Diop, and let me see, they talk about it in Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. But in 1978, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop and Théophile Obenga proved, they analyzed the 2 Egyptian mummies, and they did the melanin test on them, and they were able to determine that these were Africans. And I wanted to see, they talk about it in, Browder talks about this in Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. I wanted to see if I could find that. Just a second here. But, oh, let's see. Set in the beginning. Blumenbach. It's somewhere in here, and it's, I could look at another source for it. But, wait, hold on, the General Consensus, UNESCO. Oh, yeah, here we go. Page 20. The general consensus reached, okay, Dr. Obinga's paper was entitled The Peopling of Ancient Egypt and the Deciphering of the Meroitic Script. He provided data which confirmed the existence of substantial linguistic relationships between the ancient Egyptian language and traditional African languages. The papers presented by Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop and Dr. Theophil Obinga the papers presented by Diop and Obinga were virtually unchallenged by other scholars present, which prompted the following comment by a reporter attending the symposium. Although the preparatory working paper sent out by UNESCO gave particulars of what was desired, not all participants had prepared communications comparable with the painstakingly researched contributions of Professor Cheikh Anta Diop and Obinga. There was consequently a real lack of balance in the discussions. Okay, now if we go down, and the conference was published, the proceedings symposium also rejected the notion that Pharaonic Egyptian, which remains stable language. Okay, where's the melanodosis test? One of the most significant revelations presented at the Cairo Symposium, this is in 1978, was Diop's development of the melanin dosage test. The melanin dosage test. This one simple test provided the means by which one could determine phenotype. Let's go back over here. This one simple test provided the means by which one could determine the phenotype of the Egyptian royal mummies by examining the melanin content present in their skin. This is from page 20 of Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization by Tony Browder. Okay, page 20. Look at pages 19 and 20. The test involved the acquisition of specimens consisting of a few square millimeters of mummified skin, which were then coated with ethyl benzoate and exposed to natural or ultraviolet light. This procedure rendered the melanin granules in the skin specimen fluorescent. Okay, this procedure rendered the melanin granules in the skin specimen fluorescent, thus enabling them to be counted by Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, who stated that the experiments, quote, show a melanin level which is non-existent in the white-skinned races. Okay, that Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop and Theophil Obinga in 78 used the melanin dosage test to prove that the ancient Egyptians were Black African people. Quote, show a melanin level which is non-existent in the white skin races. Let us simply say that the evaluation of melanin level by microscopic examination is a laboratory method which enables us to classify the ancient Egyptians unquestionably among the black races. This is Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop in 1978. Now, Browder goes on to say on page 20 of Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization, Exploding the Myths. Okay, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization, Exploding the Myths. And Browder and his daughter Atlantis, they for the winter solstice, they were in Egypt. Okay, and he just got back. I need to contact him because I want to bring him on the show. I've interviewed him a number of times in the past. Despite the research of Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop and Théophile Obenga, numerous issues concerning the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians and the Egyptian contributions to civilization continue to be discussed and debated. Now, this is Browder back in this book came out. I got it November 2nd, 1994. This book came out in 92. So this is Browder in 92 saying this. Okay. Despite the research of Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop and Théophile Obenga, numerous issues concerning the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians and the Egyptian contributions to civilization continue to be discussed and debated. Some scholars will never accept the fact that Africans, black Africans, had anything to do with the development of Nile Valley civilizations and the culture that emerged in the northernmost region of the Nile Valley, Egypt. Okay, well, now the Nile Valley region, the northernmost, the most northern region, Egypt, or Kemet. Okay, one of the original names, Kemet or Tameri. Tameri meaning the beloved land. Now, if we go back, let's see here. If we go back to page 19, okay, where are we on time? Okay, let's wrap it up with this because, ooh, all right. Between 1775 and 1800, he's talking about the University of Göttingen in Germany. It looks like he's talking about Dr. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, and Blumenbach coined the term Caucasian in 1779. And Blumenbach was one of the men who helped stratify humanity into races. Blumenbach produced the first scholarly work on human racial classification and invented the term Caucasian. Between 1775 and 1800, Göttingen established the concept of the science of antiquity upon which future universities would build. They're talking about the University of Göttingen in Germany. That's where Dr. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach taught. Okay. Upon which future universities would build. The slanted and distorted research which emerged from this institution, quote, established much of the intellectual framework within which later research and publication within the new professional discipline was carried out, end quote, states Martin Banal. Okay. And he's citing Martin Banal, author of Black Athena, the Afro-Asiatic roots of Greece. The myths that were created at the University of Göttingen in Germany have held sway in academia for more than 200 years. Very few scholars took seriously any theory that conflicted with the accepted belief that ancient Egyptians could have been anything other than Caucasian. Okay, very few scholars took seriously any theory that conflicted with the accepted belief that ancient Egyptians could have been anything other than Caucasian. But in the early 1970s, these biases were scholarly, intellectually, and scientifically challenged by two sons of Africa, the late Senegalese multidisciplinarian Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop and his associate from Gabon, Dr. Théophile Obianga. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop and Théophile Obianga both presented papers at the Cairo Symposium, which unequivocally destroyed the myths of Black racial inferiority. From January 28th through February 3rd, 1974, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, also known as UNESCO, sponsored the symposium, which was held in the capital of Egypt, Cairo. The symposium was attended by 20 of the most prominent Egyptologists in the world at the time, who assembled to debate, among other topics, the race of the ancient Egyptians. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop was a brilliant scientist who held degrees in Egyptology, physics, linguistics, and anthropology. He was regarded by his contemporaries as the Pharaoh of African Studies. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop presented a paper entitled Origins of the Ancient Egyptians, and argued irrefutably that there were 11 categories of evidence to support the thesis that the ancient Egyptians were indigenous Black Africans. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop presented a paper entitled Origins of the Ancient Egyptians. And in this paper argued irrefutably that there were 11 categories of evidence to support the thesis that the ancient Egyptians were indigenous Black Africans. And then Dr. Théophile Obianga's paper was entitled The Peopling of Ancient Egypt and the Deciphering of the Meroitic Script. Now, here's the article from blackpast.org. So that's page 19 and 20 of Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization by Tony Browder. Here is the article from blackpast.org. People can check out about Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop that I cited. It's from blackpast.org. They have some really good articles. This is from June 14, 2008. Here's Dr. Diop in the laboratory in Dakar, Senegal, 1976. He's a brilliant, brilliant scholar. Okay. And he was born December 29th, 1923. All right, now, and this is the name of the article here. Just search for Cheikh Anta Diop at blackpast.org. Okay, lastly, in the book by Dr. David Imhotep, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. In here, he talks about Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop also at that same conference in 78. And let me see, is this what I want? What does that mean? Okay, so he talks about the conference of 74 in Cairo. 20 scholars invited. The conference, only 2 were Black, Cheikh Anta Diop and Théophile Obianga. At the end of the conference, all agreed, however, that the ancient Egyptians were Black. The record shows that Dr. Let me see, who was this? Okay, in the latest example, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, 1991, mentioned an example of political absurdity that occurred at the 1974 Cairo conference, which was held to determine once and for all just who the ancient Egyptians were. Of the 22 scholars invited to the conference, only 2 were Black. Okay, so you got 22 scholars at this conference in 1974 in Cairo, Egypt, and they're trying to determine once and for all who the ancient Egyptians were, and only 2 of the scholars were Black. Okay, but you had 2 of the baddest scholars, so I guess that's all you needed. At the end of the conference, all agreed, however, that the ancient Egyptians were Black. The record shows that Dr. Ivan Van Sertima reported that just after the agreement was made, one of the scholars still yelled out, quote, "Even though they were Black, they were white," end quote. The record shows that Dr. Ivan Van Sertima reported that just after the agreement was made by the scholars at the end of the conference that the ancient Egyptians were Black, one of the scholars yelled out, quote, "Even though they were Black, they were white," end quote. The example above is similar to one that occurred when Stephen Anitai wrote an article in 2007 entitled "The First Americans Were Black." The first Americans were Black. The article is written very similarly to other Australian American migration articles. After Stephen Anitai, Anitei, wrote and admitted that, quote, "the first inhabitants of the Americas belonged to the Negro type," Blacks in parentheses, "the first inhabitants of the Americas belonged to the Negro type," Blacks in parentheses. However, you do not have to think they were of the African type. He goes on to say, you do not have to think they were of the African type. They belong to a racial group called the Black Asians, end quote. So Dr. David Imhotep asked the question, what does that mean? If Stephen Anitai mentioned that Black Asians do belong to the Negro type, but at the same time says you do not have to think they were Africans, what message was he actually trying to convey? So he's trying to say, well, even though they were Negroes, they weren't really like Black. They were just like, kind of like dark skin. They were like dark Asians. They weren't like black. Okay, they were like dark Asians. They were something other than Black. Okay, they're dark. They were the Egyptians. They were dark, but they were more like dark Caucasians. They weren't like Negroes. They weren't like blackety black. They were like dark skinned Caucasians. Okay. All right. This is what was that, page 12, I think it was. The first Americans were Africans, documented evidence by Dr. David Imhotep. The first Americans were Africans, documented evidence by Dr. David Imhotep. All right, so hey, we've got my presentations dealing with the history of Kwanzaa. We have a 4-lecture bundle pack, from Kwanzaa to Wakanda, Check that out. It is in digital download format and DVD format. Digital download is $8. DVD is $10. It's available at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, we just posted the link there as well. And we also have my 3-hour presentation, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade with that's the wrong one. It's Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas. Okay, that was the online course that I taught, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas. That's the one I'm looking for. Okay, that's a 3-hour presentation. We have that on DVD and digital download also. That's available at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com as well. So that deals with the pre-Christian origins of Christmas. Okay, we do this a deep presentation. I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation. We deal with the pre-Christian origins of Christmas, in hundreds of years of history, thousands of years of history as well. That's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And then also the online course that I teach, we have it in all on demand. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. That is a 16-hour online course. Is broken up into 8 sessions. It's all on demand. Watch it at your own pace. That's on sale, $80. Watch from around the world. I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation. We have video clips. We have bonus content. Deal with thousands of years of history. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay. All right. We'll post that link here. Also, it's also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. Look, we got to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. We keep going over. And Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time also. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And talk to you tomorrow night.